Hey, my name is STIX and welcome back to your weekly bite of MMORPG news, a video series where I go over the latest MMO news, drama, pre-registrations, test phases, everything that happened in the MMO genre over the course of the last couple weeks in one easy to digest format. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification. That way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post weekly. Do not miss out. Now we have a lot to talk about, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. How many of you have played Grand Fantasia? This was an MMO from the early 2000s, an anime MMO from my childhood. The reason I ask is because X Legend, the devs behind the game, behind Auric Kingdom, Twin Saga, Eden Eternal, announced that they were releasing Grand Fantasia Origin, essentially a classic version of Grand Fantasia. Steam listed as coming in the third quarter of 2024. It states that they are using a new engine, new gameplay, and a new adventure. I don't know how a classic version of an already existing game would use a new engine. A classic version of an already pre-existing property means going back to what it was in the beginning without alteration. Either way, Grand Fantasia Origin is launching at some point in the next few months. I don't see anything about test phases right now, so it seems as though they're probably just going to go into a full launch. New World had what was arguably the most catastrophic news drop of its entire history. They announced that there was going to be an entire overhaul of the game, a completely new version. And the common perception from players, very evidently now that we look back at it, a misconception from players was that they were altering the core foundation of the game from being an MMO to being a single player RPG, when the reality is they're not. They're just overhauling it drastically. They are introducing new content like a new 10-player raid. They are porting the game over to console and allowing for full cross-platform play. Now, when they announced this, they worded it horribly, like the MMO that people were still actively playing, that they had purchased, that they had supported, was shutting down. Amazon, as per usual, are freaking idiots and handled this very poorly. Despite that, this is a pretty big update, and I am curious to see what it does for the game. Walkscape is kicking off its second closed beta test. Walkscape is a fitness MMORPG. Yeah, make of that what you will. Bitcraft, which MRSSTIX actually played quite a bit of, announced that their closed alpha 2 is going to start a little bit later than they had originally anticipated. It's gotten pushed back to July 8, 2024. Their first alpha test was actually not bad. MRSSTIX did a video on it. I believe it was just somewhat empty and void of content. Regardless, I'm sure she's going to jump into this game too, because honestly, it was kind of a surprising game, not at all related to Bitcoin or anything concerning NFTs or blockchain. Guild Wars 2 has opened up pre-purchase for their Janthier Wilds expansion. There is the standard, deluxe, and ultimate edition ranging from $25, $50, and $75. The expansion is going to launch on August 20, 2024. So if you're interested in playing, if you're interested in receiving the pre-registration rewards, go ahead and pre-order now. Speaking of pre-registering for games, Pax Dei has announced that they're going to be launching into early access on June 18th. In light of this, they've opened up the ability to purchase Founders Packs for the game, the Journeyman, the Artisan, and the Master Editions, ranging from $40 to $60 to $100. If you're interested in pre-registering, if you're interested in getting all the goodies that come with those Founders Packs, go ahead and purchase it. Before we discuss any additional MMO news, let me take a moment to thank my incredible patrons over on Patreon. Allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single week. You guys are absolutely incredible. I can't thank you all enough for the support. Now let's keep talking. The Elder Scrolls Online just rolled out their Gold Road update. They actually gave me a key for this, and I plan on jumping into it at some point because it does sound interesting. I really did enjoy the Necom update that I got to participate in, but if you're interested in purchasing the Gold Road update, go ahead and do so. I know we're talking about a lot of games that are launching or opening up pre-registrations or pre-orders. Dawn Trail announced that they are launching on July 2nd. Early access players will be able to jump in by June 28th. I anticipate there to be some server issues, so while you can jump in June 28th, do note you're probably not going to get to play a whole lot of it, and if you do, you're probably going to disconnect when entering dungeons like we did in Shadowbringers and Endwalker. Now, I am on the fence about Dawn Trail. I know it's a bit of a contentious opinion to have, but I really loved Shadowbringers. I thought that was the peak of Final Fantasy XIV for me. I have a dedicated video coming on Final Fantasy XIV in just like 2 days, where I have a ton of Final Fantasy XIV creators all get together and discuss the game. I urge you to be on the lookout for that. But Dawn Trail is not my most anticipated upcoming MMO expansion, especially not after how Endwalker disappointed me comparatively to Shadowbringers. Endwalker wasn't bad, it just wasn't nearly as good as Shadowbringers was. The developers behind Tibia actually announced that they are releasing a MMO called Persist Online. This is an MMO about zombies. According to them, you're supposed to survive an unforgiving open world where every building is accessible. You're supposed to forge a deadly team with friends and claim what's not yours. So, I mean, yeah, it sounds somewhat interesting, given Tibia was a pretty unique and very popular game at its peak. Corepunk is holding a brand new playtest. Their last playtest went over horribly. I wasn't actually invited to participate in it. I got given keys to give out to our viewers. Unfortunately, the game went down repeatedly over like a 3-day period. Nobody really got to play, and they ended up canceling it. Now they've rescheduled it to July 1st through July 7th. I understand that there can be any number of issues that arise when planning for a test phase, so I completely get it. I'm not holding this against them. I'm not criticizing them for this. I am glad that they are rescheduling. I hope this time it works out better for them, because the previous test phase that I got to participate in, I think it was in December, was actually fairly well done. I just had some criticism with just a few certain aspects of the game, and I hope they've improved on that when I get to participate in this test phase on July 1st. Tower of Fantasy rolled out version 4.0. Yeah, it's still going. Tarisland confirmed they're releasing on June 21st. It's pretty much right next to the new Elden Ring DLC. Yeah, they're shooting themselves in the foot with that one. Tarisland is what they described as the non-pay-to-win MMORPG of the future, and then after they were called out for being pay-to-win, we're like, oh, we're pay-to-win. Yeah, so about that. And then they removed the pay-to-win term from their social media, so they can't be held accountable when they inevitably show how pay-to-win they are, which I actually have a dedicated video on coming in a few days if you're interested. Throne and Liberty's producer resigns as mobile version rumors surface. That's never good. Throne and Liberty is doing so poorly in Korea, and the fact that Amazon haven't gotten this out yet is no doubt aiding in how badly the game is doing financially. And when an Asian game does bad, what do? Or when an Asian MMO does bad, what do? They port it on over to mobile. Blue Protocol is doing the same thing. Bandai Namco gave the Blue Protocol intellectual property over to, I think it was Tencent, and Tencent is now producing a mobile version of Blue Protocol. So Bandai Namco can like recoup some of the financial loss that they have suffered. Same thing's happening with Throne and Liberty. It is not confirmed, it's just a rumor at present. Abyss Online sucks. The devs openly admit this. If you're a part of their Discord, you can see how poorly everything has gone over the course of the last couple weeks. They literally tell you, do not purchase our game right now. So yeah, don't do it. Once Human announced at the Summer Game Fest just a couple days ago that they are officially releasing on July 9th. This is the game Mrs. X is really, really excited for, because it's an enormous, fully open world MMO that she poured like 100 hours into during its last test phase. She can't wait for me to play it with her. And then finally, the First Descendant is launching on July 2nd. I wouldn't really call this necessarily an MMO, but a lot of people are. Regardless of whether you think this is an MMO or not, it's launching July 2nd onto Steam, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Now that is everything that happened over the course of the last few weeks. And if none of this is of any interest to you, absolutely no problem. I got you covered with 2 different videos on screen right now. Might be more up your alley.